I want to say that it's a real honor to share the stage with these eminent people, but especially to talk and to champion the importance of dialogue on social justice and the environment. I think there are two toxic climates right now. The one is the climate of our wounded planet, which we take for granted. But the other is that toxic space of social discourse where we have become increasingly unable to converse, to reach different conclusions, to be passionate for our position, but to fight just as strongly for the right of others to hold theirs. What's most alarming about this new and deepening intolerance is that the crises the world is facing are of such a large scale and of such significant global proportions that only unified action can solve them. So how do we tackle the challenge that threatens all of us if we are unable to walk the same path in the name of an ethical humanity? And one answer is certainly that our faith communities must offer a path forward, even though we struggle at times with divisions within our own and between our own communities. Every science fiction film that I've ever watched features cataclysmic challenges, and it has always provided a catastrophe of such global proportions that eventually binds everyone together. In movies, it's only when the world is on the brink, about to be invaded by aliens, that all our differences are suddenly cast aside and we unite against the invading force. What astonishes me in the present day, in the real world, is that we are very close to this cataclysmic moment. We have seen the effects of climate change, for example, not just on distant island nations that are sinking beneath rising sea levels, but as was mentioned before, even in Canada, where virtually every province is fighting wildfires right now, and of a different proportion than we've ever seen before. But for whatever reason, the world isn't banding together to tackle the true challenges of the planet: endemic poverty, environmental racism, systemic injustice, and so much more. And it's precisely because of this conflicted space that the arrival of Pope Francis's Laudato Si was and is such a welcome document. Laudato Si, as many of you know, is a cri de cœur, or a cry from the heart, for humanity to value and protect our wounded planet. The topic of this panel is how faith communities can lead the cause for climate action. And Pope Francis reminds all of us that faith must be at the heart of our commitment to champion the dignity of all peoples. It's therefore our moral duty to fight for an integral ecology that acknowledges the deep-seated racism of environmental degradation. Because no one can doubt that the poor are specifically targeted and punished by an immoral ecology, and that the poor are disproportionately racialized communities whose land is either under threat or stolen or destroyed. Addressing this environmental racism, however, delivers a potential twist. Here is a scenario where caring for the other can also be selfishly beneficial. To celebrate the dignity of the human person is to raise all of us out of despair and risk. So ecological care is intimately connected to a profound humanism, which must begin with the championing of the marginalized and the disenfranchised. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that the faith communities are disproportionately at the center delivering social justice initiatives, as we've just heard. Medical care programs, education, relief aid, soup kitchens, and so much more. It's in our DNA. At the heart of our faith communities is an army of volunteers, of employers, of believers who have made support for those in need a major part of their faith life. And it stands to reason, therefore, that our focus must include the celebration of what Pope Francis called an... Was that Pope Francis? What he called an integral ecology, and that it must be led by our faith communities. But even more to the point, it has to be led by our faith communities working together to show how we can transform a divided, wounded world. As Pope Francis puts it in Laudato Si, it cannot be emphasized enough how everything is interconnected. Time and space are not independent of one another, and not even atoms or subatomic particles can be considered in isolation. So given the Pope's words, I just want to close by using what I hope is quite a remarkable analogy about why our partnership matters. At a recent international conference celebrating Pope Francis' 10-year pontificate held at St. Mark's College in May, I closed my address with a reference to one of my favorite stories, that of the famed astronomer Harlow Shapley, and his realization that argon atoms, which make up about 1.5% of the Earth's atmosphere, these argon atoms, unlike ozone and other gases, never disappear. As Shapley explained, they enter our lungs and they leave unchanged and circulate the planet forever. And as Shapley put it, your next breath today may well contain more than 400,000 of the argon atoms that Gandhi breathed in his long life. Argon atoms are here from the conversations of the Last Supper, from the arguments of the diplomats at Yalta, and from the recitation of the classic poets. I once had a student say to me, "What does it matter what's happening on the other side of the planet? Things are bad enough here, I don't have time to think about there." And you know, it's not an uncommon point of view. We not only think of ourselves as removed from the other people, but from the history that we've inherited. So this theory of Shapley is especially wonderful because it reminds us that we carry within us the very breath of our common humanity. We think of ourselves as removed from the distant past, just as my student felt removed from distant people. So this idea is especially wonderful because it reminds us that we are breathing air that was breathed by dinosaurs and prehistoric beings, by Antony and Cleopatra, by Shakespeare, and of all the prophets who shaped our religions. If you look at it this way, the very air we breathe is sacred. So if we disrespect it, pollute it, and contaminate it, what does it say about our beliefs and values, our sacred purpose? We share a breath that all our brothers and sisters have had a hand in shaping. The air we breathe isn't just the air of those who share the same religion as us, or those who have the same skin color. It isn't the air of those who are financially secure. The air we breathe connects us at the very level of our DNA. It is our moral, and dare I say, our religious duty, therefore, to assume responsibility for the world at large. So first and foremost, our faith communities need to come together to speak with one voice, to inspire our youth above all, because they will be the custodians of whatever we leave behind. Faith communities are predicated on hope, so no matter the size of the challenge, we know that God believes in us, and so there is reason to hope. And through hope, we must rally to protect the most vulnerable, to celebrate our youth so that they know how critical the journey is, and more importantly, so that they understand without the shadow of a doubt that this is a faith journey, a prayer of consequential importance, and something as vital as the air we breathe. Thank you.
Thank you.